Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for another flea market finds episode. This is going to be stuff I picked at the outdoor flea market on August 31st of this year, and we'll just reposition that camera and we'll dive right in. So I walked around for a while and wasn't really seeing anything, and you know, it's funny, I'm seeing more and more people there that are coming for tools and picking tools, so it's getting a little bit more difficult. The competition is hot and heavy in the morning. Then I did find this guy who just put out this Kennedy toolbox, and I went through the drawers and found a few items and started asking him for some prices and ideas of his pricing, and it seemed like it was going to be pretty reasonable, so I put together a pile. And initially the pile was, this wasn't in it. So initially the pile was $50 for these three items, and then I asked about this Interrapid digital caliper, and you know, it doesn't work. And talked about how, well, it's pretty much going to be, you know, you put a battery in and it's going to work, or it's just going to be junk. Matter of fact, I'm looking at this tape on here. I'm wondering if there's, yeah, it looks like there might even be an issue already with the battery cover on this. It's held on with Scotch tape. But he says, well, why don't you give me just $10 more for that? And I did. Should have looked at this a little more closely. So it ended up being 60, which 10 of it was this as-is Interrapid digital. Well, that battery is dead, so let's see. Well, it took a little bit of cleaning of the contacts, but now they're working perfectly fine. That's with me holding the battery in with my thumb. So, just going to have to put some more secure tape on there. You know, it's funny, I was just realizing I can't get this cover to push down all the way. The battery that came out of here was a 357, which is what I'm trying to put back in. But it occurred to me, maybe this uses one of those really thin batteries. And I looked underneath this paperwork here and I found this battery, which is clearly thinner, and it's a 386. And I just looked in the paperwork, and the paperwork specifies a 386. So they had the wrong battery in here, which is why this wouldn't close. So I wonder if this little disc will actually snap into place if I get the right battery in there. 386, I don't know if I have one of those. Well, I didn't have a 386, but I had a 389, which also looked thin. So I put that in there and just pushed this cover in, and it kind of like just clicks in place. So I think that's going to be all set. Not sure what the difference is between a 386 and a 389 is. Oh, so 386 and a 389 are both silver oxide batteries, but this battery is actually even a little bit smaller than what's supposed to be in there. So, but it'll work. And then the other 50 was these three items here. This is just a Starrett 2-inch micrometer. There was a 1-inch there too, but the 1-inch was pretty worn, where this 2-inch, other than being engraved with the owner's name, is really clean, nice condition, and works perfectly. It does not have carbide faces, but it does have the ratchet stop, and it is a 1/10 micrometer, so interestingly enough, it's got everything actually you want to see in one of these 436 micrometers, except it does not have the carbide faces. And then this is a Mitutoyo dial caliper, which normally I wouldn't give much for at all because I have so many dial calipers and I even have several Mitutoyos. Mitutoyos, good old Japanese Mitutoyos are nice calipers, but they're just not that valuable. But this one caught my eye and I just had to have it because, I'll get to that in a second. This one actually has the crystal. Because it has a counter, a numerical counter on it, and I've never seen one that had this feature. So sure enough, as you move it over, it counts. So it's like a direct reading Mitutoyo caliper. I've never seen one made this way. And the first thought was, well, maybe somebody actually added that somehow, but that doesn't make sense because this whole dial assembly is moved over far enough to accommodate to make room for this. So this was more than likely born this way, and I've just never seen one before. So kind of an unusual animal.
There's only one of him in Egypt. He's the horse of a different colour you've heard tell about.
And then he had this one with no case. Crystal was missing. And, you know, by some miracle, again, I'm always amazed at how many of these I find with the crystal missing that aren't in cases that somehow managed to survive and not have the needle get bent up or destroyed. But this is an Etalon, or Etalon, which is a Swiss manufacturer, and they make nice stuff. So I figured, what the heck. And then ended up finding in one of the drawers, ended up finding the crystal here. But if I put that in, it's going to just want to fall out more than likely, because these are friction fit. So they have a curve to them, and the idea is you actually, when you put them in a crystal press, you actually end up flexing them so that the sides move in a little bit so that you can get them into position. And then when you relieve the pressure from the crystal press, the spring tension is supposed to make that pop back out and keep that in there. Oddly enough, though, this one actually does seem to be holding pretty well. Huh. That's actually staying in there quite nicely. Go figure. Unfortunately, no case for them, but these are actually pretty nice dial calipers. I was just putting those calipers away, and I was thinking about it. I said, wait a minute. There was something else included in that deal, and this is what it was. It was these 5 Starrett pin vices and this Starrett fishtail. This was $10 of that 50. So it was $10 for the anti-rapid to make it 60. This was 10 of the 50. And then so it was $40 for this, the Etalon calipers, and the 2-inch micrometer. And another dealer that I see there all the time, he had, the only Starrett thing he had on his table was this box right here, which contains 5 AA automatic Starrett center punch tips. So these are just replacement tips for automatic center punches, but they're for the AA size, which is the smallest. So this is not one you come across very often. But I got the box of 5 for $5, which is a good deal. The guy had a bunch of taps and dies and some cutters and stuff, and I had bought a bunch of stuff from him previously, so his pile's getting kind of picked through. But I did find this stuff right here and put this pile together for $15, 5 of which was for this one big drill bit. So I paid 10 for this pile of 9 items right here. This is actually a diamond dressing nub. So this would go on a wheel dresser. So underneath here is a industrial diamond. Prestige. Never heard of that name. India. And then this is a Fisher micro edge finder. I've had these before. Pretty decent quality. It's a complete rip-off of a Starrett. I mean, it's like dead ringer for a Starrett. And then just some random end mills. The small double-headed one. This one kind of intrigued me because of the weird grind on it. See if I can get that to focus. The interesting geometry on this cutter. It's a Niagara, which is a good brand. It just says 4 flute single end, so I wonder if this was modified by somebody for some reason. Here's another one done the same way. This is just a double-ended 2 flute. There's a small double-ended 2 flute. These all look new. That's why I took these. And this little envelope right here has a whole bunch of look like new old stock drill bits. And then this slitting saw appears to be brand new. I won't bother taking that out, but you get the gist of it. Alright, moving right along. I got this Starrett center punch hammer missing the lens. these usually have a big rubber, almost like O-ring, that holds the lens in. And my theory is that they probably dry out and crack and fall out with age, because I find a lot of these that are missing the lens. I usually don't even bother, but I got this one only cost me $1, so I figured, what the heck. I wonder whether or not you can actually still get that replacement lens from Starrett. I kind of doubt it, but you know, what the heck. And then guy had a bunch of punches, and I spotted these square shanked Starrett punches. And they were in great shape. There was one or two that were bad that I left in there, and I got these for $2 a piece. Usually I try and get these only for $1 a piece, but he was a little firm on his price, and if these were just regular ones, I probably would have left them, but the square ones, I have less of these. And then I found this 8-inch Craftsman wrench, which is, I kind of get a chuckle out of this because I just picked one of these up in like really nice condition recently for like $5, and I'm currently auctioning that off on my site, and I forget what it's up to already, but I figured, well, this way I can offer this one to the runner-up for a lot less money. I only paid $1 for this because of the condition. And if it wasn't this cute little Craftsman 8-inch, I wouldn't have bothered. And then the guy that I bought at the beginning of the day, that I bought all those, you know, the Mitutoyo caliper here and the Starrett micrometer and that other stuff, and the Edelon caliper, I bought all out of that toolbox. The one thing I didn't take initially was this, and when I went back, he had sold the toolbox with everything else. This is all he had left. So I offered him $5 for it, and he said, sure. I said, yeah, now you can be sold out. So it's a little rough looking on the outside, but it actually is not in bad shape at all. So nice machinery's handbook for somebody. Going to be a cheap one. It only cost me $5. So I got 3 items left, and then we can call this a wrap. So one of the guys I buy from occasionally, he had this angle plate, and universal right angle iron, made in Japan. So this is just a type of angle plate that would be used in conjunction with a surface plate to give you a 90-degree plane to the surface plate, right? And it looks like it's brand new, old stock, but he had $25 on it, and these aren't as handy as the ones that are drilled and tapped, which allow you to mount parts to them so you can actually do grinding or milling operations on them. So I initially, when I saw this, it was actually a couple weeks ago. So then when I saw that he still had it this trip out, I asked him, I said, hey, I said, I can give you 15 for that. And we had a little conversation about it, and he says, yeah, you talked me into it. So I got this for $15, which isn't bad. I got 3 mystery items coming up, and before we get to those, no trip to the flea market would be complete unless I score another CB radio. This is another one of these Cobra 29 NW LTD classic radios. So the NW means that it's got weather built into it. So there's several different variations of this. This is not the Super Tracker or whatever the heck. I forgot what they call that other feature that's on some of these. But this one is very, very clean. And the guy said, see, there's no signs of corrosion on this. The guy said that he had just taken this out of his truck. And I asked about the bracket, and he said, no, he had it mounted overhead, so that's why he didn't have a bracket. But it's even got a nice Cobra microphone. It's not an amplified mic or anything, but it's a very clean looking radio. I haven't tested it. I'm just going to go on the assumption for now that it works. I'll deal with if it needs any service or anything at some later date. So let's look at these weird items that I got. So a guy had a bunch of buckets and bins on the ground with a bunch of old iron stuff in it, and I was rummaging through and seeing if there was anything like blacksmith tools or whatever that had, or interesting wrenches, old wrenches and stuff like that. And I spotted this thing, and I was like, okay, this kind of intrigues me. At first I thought it was like some sort of a shelf bracket or something, right? So it's got 4 screws So there was something that was screwed to this part right here. It does look like it might have a name or something here. I'm going to clean that up in a minute, see if I can get some identification off of it. So I don't know, for whatever reason I just assumed that this would come in pairs, right? That there would be another one in there. So I dug around in there and I found another one, only to realize it's the same sort of thing, but it's smaller. And this one just has a number 3 on it here, no other markings. But the same kind of deal, right? And then I was like, okay, that's interesting. So I dig around some more and I find a third. And this one also is different than the other two. This one's got a different name on it, clearly. But the same general idea or type of thing, which is something screwed down here, you know, and then quite a few mounting holes, 4 here and 4 here. So I'll tell you what my guess is. All right, you guys, if you want, write a comment with a guess. Pause the video and write a comment with your guess, and then abracadabra. All right, so hopefully you wrote a comment with a guess, and my guess is that it's some sort of a step to get in and out of, like a train car or an old, maybe a really old vehicle of some type. That was my guess. And then I was thinking maybe there was a piece of rubber that went here, and it's, you know, you screwed it down, and then as the rubber wore out, you could replace it. So that's my guess. So let's see what this is. I'm sure I can find something to tell me what this is. So that's an easy name to see, Corbin, C-O-R-B-I-N. Well, I struck out with the name Corbin. This one almost looks like it's I-L-G-O. All right, so Google Lens to the rescue. Definitely found a lot of matches here, and this is a vintage door plunger mounting. So here's like the first one that came up. That looks just like this one here, only this one says Yale. I wonder if anybody's actually bought any of these. Oh, just figured it out. So the Corbin one I found also on eBay. And the Corbin one in the description, and actually in a couple other ones too, they call them pot belly door closer mounting brackets. So this is a mounting bracket for a door closer, and the pot belly style door closer is one of these things. So one of these units that helps the door close on its own, and you can see the bracket right in the background.